Karen,
Yes,
we have been managing a spiritual business of sorts for a bit right now.
for a
Right?
bit.
Have you noticed how building a spiritual business is actually harder than building a regular one?
Yes.
Because you're not just managing clients, right? You're managing your energy body, your spirit guides, the entities that follow clients home from sessions.
The extraterrestrials, there's a lot of managing.
And of course, the very real possibility that doing the work makes you more sensitive over time, not less, right? Not more protected, more permeable.
We need like a spiritual HR
Ah,
department.
well, funny you should mention that.
Oh,
Today, we're diving deep into the business of woo, what it actually costs to go full time, why most practitioners burn out or get predatory, and the one rule that separates the real ones from the cosplay.
what's that?
If the math isn't mathing without your spouse's paycheck, it's just a very expensive hobby. Oh, and apparently you need to tell yourself out loud before bed that you won't astral travel in your sleep for several nights a week
That's what you've been doing
for
wrong.
your health. No, I've been talking to myself all wrong. There's a lot to get into on this episode of Skeptic Musicians, which starts now. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
Both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical.
Three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey there, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
Welcome back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians, a show where we've always suspected spirit guides had an org chart, and it turns out that they do.
They do.
They do. Today, we're talking about the business of woo. And to help us do this, we've recruited the writer of the seminal work on the topic, having written the actual book titled The Business of Woo.
Woo.
This is a very well-written, sharply intelligent, and often laugh-out-loud funny book that happens to take psychic practice completely seriously. Kind of like right up our alley, right?
Right up our alley.
Now, the book does such a great job of translating corporate speak into spiritual business terms, and her raw willingness to name predatory behavior in the woo space directly with evidence and specific case studies sets it apart from virtually everything else in the genre.
I'm going to banner the book.
Her name is Rachel White, and she spent almost 20 years as a senior vice president at a global corporation, all while quietly doing tarot readings out of her Chicago apartment on the weekends. And now she is a full-time shaman with thousands of clients, a sold-out tarot deck, and a book that essentially calls out most of the spiritual industry as a scam. There's a reason the woo space is full of predators, and there's a reason most spiritual businesses fail. And Rachel knows them both. And she's not polite about it, which is why we love her so much. And we're so excited to welcome her to the show today. Rachel White, how are you doing?
I'm good. You guys are so good at this, by the way. You should hear my intros. I'm like, so you do stuff. Tell people about the stuff you do. And thanks for coming. Thanks so much for that intro. And I have to say, you kind of, outside of the very sweet compliments, I think you nailed the essence of the book. And I was a little scared to write it, frankly.
Really?
It's our world is very into love and light, and I am too, but that doesn't help you with everything. And so anytime you touch the third rail of like realism in this space, I think people feel a certain way about it. And also, as you said in your intro, which was brilliant, and thank you so much, the case studies and examples, those are based on real events.
Right.
And there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
And good ones, not just negative ones, but I've seen so much wild stuff since doing this. And it's like, is anybody else watching this movie? Kind of a thing. And I feel like so much of it is just like, yeah, but it's just the woo. And it's like, I don't know that that's what this is actually, what we're watching.
Right.
Because I know plenty of woo people who don't do that. So I'm glad we're finally talking about it. And I wanted the book to be a real conversation starter in the space and give people some grounded hope. Where it wasn't mindset, manifestation, pure work, but like things to do, things you can do.
And that's what I love about the book the most. And thank you very much for the advanced copy. It was a great read. And I'll tell you, it is like a manual, a how-to book to stand up a business, not just a spiritual business, just a business as a whole. It just so happens to be surrounding spirituality. But you've got stuff in there like um, org charts, spiritual org charts, and dotted line managers, and solid line managers being
Yeah.
your spirit guides, and you even talk about doing a performance review with your spirit guide as your
Yeah.
manager. I mean,
It's
it's
your annual review. I'm still waiting for my bonus. It's been a minute.
I mean, aren't we all really? But
I'll receive that at any moment. Yeah.
Right.
I work a lot one-on-one with people. So I started doing this consulting work. I call it business of woo mentoring. I was partly being cute about it, but also it is what it is.
Hmm.
People who came to me for spiritual transformation coaching and wanted to launch a business. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I can talk to you about that. And it's not that I'm some great genius. I'm really not. But I think I took for granted things in my background that were just in the air, right? Like
Mhm.
things that just people took for granted as they understood it. And we all spoke the same language and realized how needed this is. And how many people, in particular, I have to say on Instagram, sort of perpetuate like myths around business that aren't reflective of reality. And so people listen to them, they might pay them money, and then they go out in the marketplace and they go, well, it's not working. It must be me. I hear that a lot. People really beat themselves up and they internalize it. There's a lot of self criticism and a lot of imposter syndrome that comes as a result. And it's like, it's not you. Business is hard.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hard on a good day.
And there are those concrete steps that you have to take to have a business. And so many of these, you see all these ads like manifest, and it's so much more than that. It's not just hoping or, putting the intention out there. You've got to take the steps and do the work.
Right.
And thankfully, you are really making that, making a plan for people to be able to do that.
Yeah, in the order of operations to do it in. Like
Mhm.
before you design a logo, why don't you think through what your value proposition is to the marketplace? What differentiates you? Who are the people you want to work with? What's their life like? That day in the life user journey, humanizing your client base, giving them a name, really getting to know them. And that way you're not too far down the road then trying to solve those things on the back end. Everyone I know, whether they're a peer, and in some cases, people well ahead of me in terms of their professional accomplishments or people just getting started, I find that a lot of the business problems they have are because what they built doesn't align with who they actually energetically are and what they actually want to do all the time. It's built around an idea of a
Mhm.
thing. And I think that results in a lot of the weird stuff that we referenced at the beginning in your intro, like the weird behaviors or some of the shady shit you see
Mhm.
is they're in deep and they don't know how to pivot this machine. And so they're just trying to make it work now.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we should call out also that it is not just a business uh, model, not a map on how to build a business. It is, but it is very, very firmly rooted in the woo. So
Yeah.
that's why it's called the business of woo. So you actually go deep into, hey, take a look at the clairs, right? Which one
Yeah.
are you, and make a decision based on who you really are
Yeah.
before you move just like kind of like how you mentioned right now. But you've got several different um, thoughts in the book that I want to touch on with you. The one of the first ones that really grabbed my attention was the princess and the pea paradox,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So probably,
Practitioners, we are sensitives, and that means you are sensitive. And building that into a business model is really challenging,
yeah.
by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, because business typically is not for the weak of heart or for the thin of skin, right?
Yeah.
And as a whole in this space, when you open yourself up to energies, you by definition open yourself up to energies, right? So
Yeah.
so you've got to be able to put things around you to help protect you, right? That's important.
Yeah. And the better you get at it, the more you put the reps in and you level up psychically, spiritually, energetically, the more sensitive you become, actually. So, yeah.
So I would think for someone starting, brand new, starting a business in this kind of space, first of all, you have to kind of get your nerve up because this is
Yeah.
still, I mean, as much as it's becoming more popular, more mainstream, more accepted, it's still woo.
Mhm.
So to get
Oh,
out there and
yeah.
to start a business in mainstream America or wherever, it still takes some guts. In your experience with the people that you talk to, what are some of the just biggest like mistakes that they make right away when they're thinking about starting a business?
Mm.
One of them is they've got really good friends in their life that really enjoy when they read their tarot cards or do their astrology chart, right? And they go, dude, I get this feedback. I'm really good at this. And they might be good at it. But those 2 or 3 people in your life aren't going to pay your bills. And so remembering that when you go to market, you're going to be working with people that are not your friends, that you've never met. They're all different kinds of people. A lot of the clients or customers that come to us in this business of woo are going through something. Their life is in transformation, it's being disrupted. Maybe they're going through a divorce, they're sick. They've come out of a real like ego death. Maybe they've gotten laid off. They don't know what they're doing next, their next 2.0 of themselves professionally or whatever it might be. And you have to be present for them and give them that same service. And then also balance being honest with them and being skillful in what you do with managing boundaries because they may want to hear certain things from you, right? And you also don't know what they're dealing with the way you do with your friends. It's a bit of a black box.
Right.
So to me, that's always the biggest mistake is like the map is not the territory. And you're beta testing, you're incubating, gestating this thing in as a hobby, as an interest, and then it's so different than when you take it to market. It really is. And the other thing I'll say is like tarot card readings as an example, people sign up with you online, they book on Calendly, like I booked this wonderful podcast recording with you guys. You don't know who they are. You have no idea what's going to show up in that session, what someone's going to talk to you about, what stories you're going to hear. It's not for the weak. And not that I'm like some badass or whatever, because I've gotten gutted sometimes. People, and not being disturbing or inappropriate, but just their life story. And then you have to go into another session and you're like, how? How am I going to process this just as a person, not even as a practitioner? And what does that require from me in the rest of my life? Like, how do I make sure I don't get taken out by that undertow?
Yeah.
Or as my friend Abigail said, because she's an animal communicator, we stumbled on that when she did the coaching work with me, and she's doing that full time. She started trying to save every animal at the shelter because she could talk to them psychically. And she hit the wall and she goes, Rachel, I hit such compassion fatigue. Like I was trying to save every one of them because I can talk to them. You know, so when your psychic ability or your healing ability meets with objective reality and where the world is right now, it's a lot for you. So you got to make money. You have to grow a client list. You still have to do things like send an email out, work on your newsletter. You have to, I wrote this book in the middle of being insanely sick. Me and my whole family, we had to move out of a house because of mold toxicity. And I'm dealing with a legal situation. So I'm writing a book and then I have to go do a client session. I have to be present for them and their thing. And it's not about my thing. So how do you turn the volume down? But then make sure you don't get lost. Like that you turn the volume back up again on you when you're done. It's quite a balancing act, I would say.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Imagine.
So you now I've read the book, so I know. But what if someone comes to the book for the first time, comes into it cold? What could I mean? Are they going to be able to stand up a business from the ground up when they read the book? When they finish
I
with it?
think they can get it framed out. And I think it's going to prompt them to think about all the things they need to build. So first and foremost is that early section on what practitioner archetype are you? And it's not meant to limit you because you can be a shaman or a psychic reader or diviner or an animal communicator and not do those things for the general public, but host a podcast or create content on YouTube, right? So there's infinite permutations of how it manifests, but going from the psychic abilities, the Claris checklist to your chakras, to then a practitioner archetype, I think helps people just get a rough order of magnitude concept of who they are. And that's the first step on how to go to market. And then, at the back end of that go to market section with all those pieces in it, like, your marketing strategy, your thought capital strategy, what are the like nuts and bolts of it? What are the best practices? How do people book with you? How do you build a website? How do people pay you? How do you manage ethics? What are your policies and procedures? Kind of like the boring stuff, which is why I put case studies and stories in there, because it's really the meat and potatoes of it. But that's where you see the wheels come off a lot, I think,
Right.
is the day-to-day grind of it. I've talked to a lot of people who were like, yeah, I'm spending like 68 hours a day creating content, either for online courses or Instagram. And they go, I'm just going to get discovered. And you're like, no, you have to, no. You need to be like generating revenue. And my medicine for that is work with people. do
Mhm.
people work if that's a struggle area for you, because those people will support you. I just wrapped up doing coaching work with a client who launched her own business. It's awesome. Who I started working with like 12, 13 years ago in Chicago. So
Wow.
people grow with you. They may leave for a while, come back. You have to be patient with a long runway here, and you got to stay busy in an ethical way.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And do you find that people that are in this space have a harder time, focusing on the I would say the boring stuff?
Yeah, I did too. It's not fun. No one likes those meetings. I didn't
Well,
even like them when I was in
there's, like,
corporate.
accountants and people that get into that, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, and they don't do this, trust
Well,
me.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they're dialed into their worlds. I
right.
I would say, yeah, no, we're particularly challenged, I think, because, I'll just speak for myself. I'm very liminal. Like, if given a choice between writing an almost 300-page book and walking around and talking to nature spirits, I know which one I'm picking.
The book,
Mhm.
right?
But no. Um, but that's where, like, short-term satiation versus long-term happiness and meaning kinda
Mhm,
come in, and balancing that. So giving yourself treats, making sure you're doing your spiritual stuff, which
mhm.
usually we really enjoy, that you're staying inspired, and that being a part of your self-care routine, but also, like, there's some just need to haves, and
Yeah.
they're not always the sexiest or the most fun, but now I get to talk to people like you about the book, and that's really meaningful, and that produces a lot of happiness for me.
Mhm.
Right.
We're not the most self-disciplined group as a whole.
What?
Yeah,
I
I
Just
know.
because just because I like treats doesn't mean
I just had this image of someone, like, on a there's, like, a boat, and they're in the little life vest floating with a string attached not a rope, not a string, I guess,
Yeah,
and you float to a certain place, then you gotta reel yourself back to the boat, do the hard stuff, and
totally.
then you let yourself float away and enjoy it, and you gotta pull yourself back.
And you need both, and it's one of the reasons I wrote that section of the book called, Feng Shui Your Day, about grouping, like, tasks. Like, don't do the accounting work or, your housekeeping work, your email catch-ups during, like, in and out of psychic sessions with clients. Try and block your calendar off so, like, you have whole blocks of time, certain days when you're in the woo fully, and
Mhm.
other days when you're doing your administrative work, because those 2 hemispheres of the brain going back and forth in real time,
that's a lot.
it's a jolt
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I've
it
had to
makes
do it a few times when an emergency came up, and you're like, these 2, it's like church and state. They don't like being near each other at
Right.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
so woo every other day,
Yeah.
and then, the boring stuff in between.
Yeah, and also scheduling entire days to give yourself unstructured time.
Yeah.
As psychics, you need a significant amount of alone time
Mhm.
relative to other people I've found. Like, I've never met someone who does this genuinely, like a real psychic, a real tarot card reader, astrologer, whatever it is, who's intensely extroverted for long periods of time. They get wiped.
Mm.
So we're like weird little introvert people who tend to work in our homes. We don't leave a lot. Getting us out of the house is kind of a whole endeavor. And so to be people facing and in a really intimate way, energetically, emotionally, psychologically,
Yeah.
it's a lot
Yeah.
for people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's say someone was considering opening up a woo business and they pick up your book and they have an idea of what
Yeah.
archetype they are. And because the cool thing about the book is that you actually, it's not just a book you sit down and read cover to cover. You actually take a minute, you go through some exercises to figure out who you are, what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's really a cool, almost like a workbook, right?
Yeah.
Wrapped inside of a hardcover. But um, someone's done all that, and now they've stood up their business, and now crickets,
Yeah.
right? Crickets. Like they thought that, like you said, I'm going to be discovered. So how can someone actually be discovered?
Well, what you guys do, I am sure you read in the book, I'm very bullish on podcasting
Mm,
for a variety of reasons. Like, I think thought capital, which is creating content, writing books, writing white papers, writing text heavy stuff, podcasting, having long form discussions is is the remedy to everything that's kind of lacking or is too volatile right now in the marketing space, and in particular social media, right? People really get to know you. You
Mhm.
get to write or talk about things you find interesting. You get to make connections with people. Podcasting, whether it's my own podcast or being a guest, I think I've developed more meaningful connections there in that space than anywhere else with my business,
mm,
truly. So really I just think podcasting right now is very decentralized and democratized. Anyone can do it.
Mhm.
I happen to pay an audio editor for mine, but you don't have to do that,
Right.
actually. You can just push it out in the world on your own. There's these great software tools, editing tools, everything else that you need. And being patient with that, because there's a little subsection in the book called The Valley of Disappointment. And it's a thing that happens in every business, every industry, every geography,
Mm.
but you're always gonna have a slump. And it's like, how do you navigate the slump? And my suggestion is don't force it. Enjoy the valley. Like, what can you tune about your business? What can you build right now? Can you write a book? What else can you be doing? And then the other big thing with growing the business, getting noticed, getting discovered is get to know people in real life. Go around your neighborhood, hand them business cards, tell them what you do. You're gonna have to check your shyness slash embarrassment at the door. And it's not a hard sell. It's like, hey, my name's Rachel. I live in the neighborhood. This is what I do. I'd love to talk to you sometime and see if we can collaborate or if you want to put my postcards out.
Right.
And you
But
get business from real life stuff like that.
however, you knock on the door and you go,
Yeah.
"Hi, I'm Rachel. I live in the neighborhood. I read psychic tarot
Yeah.
cards for a living. Can we chat about that?" You might get some
Well, I
doors
don't knock
slammed in
on
your
residential homes. I go to businesses, local businesses. I happen to live in a neighborhood here in East Austin where there are a lot of boutiques, restaurants, bookstores, wine bars, restaurants.
Mm.
People here are very cool and weird. And you tell them about what you do, and they're like, oh, yeah, we'll put your postcards, your business cards out. No problem. Thanks so much. And, I'm doing a book signing here at it's an old vintage, literally mansion, like pre-war building
Cool.
that they turned into an indie bookstore and wine bar. And I'm doing a book signing there. And they're going to post it. It's a free event for the public. I'll meet people there. They'll get to hear me talk, get to hear me talk about the book, get to meet my clients and my friends. And it's asymmetric, really, because it's never one-to-one. It's not like you're going to have people go, please, right now, let's do a reading. But, a couple weeks later, you might get an email. They say, oh, we were doing an event here and one of our vendors dropped out. Do you want to come and read oracle cards or tarot cards for people at this, event we're having? And you say yes, like get in front of people, meet people and talk to people and be patient. A lot of my business comes from client referrals. That works much better than social media does. Real people in real life telling their coworkers, their friends, their family members that they got some insight from a session or maybe, doing the coaching program and telling their friend that they think it's what they need. That's a huge piece of this.
Right.
So make sure that you're paying attention to the person in front of you while you're working because you're not actively doing it as a marketing exercise. You're focusing on what you're doing, but that person could go out and be what we call a brand evangelist for you and spread the good word.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great, but there are some people that struggle with getting out there, that
Mm,
might find themselves in that valley and just kind of get not that they're enjoying the valley like you're saying, but
yeah,
they're like they don't know how to get out. Like what's a tip that you could tell someone just something that they could focus on maybe to help them pull
yeah.
themselves out of that valley?
A big one is what we call differentiation. And that's a term you hear, but it has a very specific meaning. And a differentiator is a best statement, a first statement, or an only statement. So, are you the first person to do this modality? Like, did you invent something? Did you innovate in this space? Are you the best at something, maybe based on reviews, public reviews, an award, whatever it might be?
Mhm,
Or are you the only person doing this thing in this way by some metric? Like, you do have to produce what we would call like a proof point in corporate
mhm,
America, something that edifies that and makes that real. And for me, so many people have things that make them so distinct and so special and they don't see it that way because, they're the fish in water. Does a
mhm.
fish know it's in water? And so pulling those things out, and if you don't have any, get one. Come up with something. So my friend Sam has a day job. He has actually like a pen name. He doesn't use his real name in his work, but he's a really talented astrologer. And he started calling me and talking to me about doing planetary magic right now with all these
Hmm,
big planets moving. I'm not a Western astrologer. And I said, Sam, I don't know one astrologer on planet Earth offering astrology consultations to advise people on the planetary magic they can do in their lives, like the day of the week, the hour of the day, the planet they're talking to help anchor some dream they're trying to build in material reality. I said, it's a differentiator.
mhm.
And he was like, I'm going to think about that. Thanks so much. And he's joining me on a live stream on Wednesday as my like secret mystery guest because he's going to analyze my chart through the lens of planetary magic. So,
Ah,
um, and that's how you get to innovation. And
mhm,
innovation is an answer to a question no one's asking
mhm.
yet. But, to your point, Karen, it requires you have to have self-belief.
Yeah.
You gotta get over imposter syndrome, and you have to start playing, not in like a reckless or irresponsible way, but like a playful, joyful, curious way with the work itself,
Mhm.
because that tends to interest people, and if
Mhm.
you're memorable and unique and you mean it, you're earnest about it, that goes a long way. It
Right.
does.
Yeah.
In this
You have to be
space,
obsessed.
yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
In this space, which is now growing by leaps and bounds,
Yeah.
you see all the numbers, a multi-million billion dollar industry this is turning out to be, and everybody is trying to get their piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Twofold. One, you got to really want it, right?
Mhm.
This is not a little part time thing. You're either in or you're out. But you
Yeah.
say don't do it and quit your day job
Yeah.
until you have enough that you're being overwhelmed that you have to quit your day job because then now
Yeah.
you can sustain yourself, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone has that type of drive. So
I
does that
know.
mean that everyone who's just kind of I just want to do this because the universe is calling me to it? Should they just give up their dream?
No, no, but have a backup plan for money. And that can be very freeing to have just a job that's just a job that you do well, you're punctual,
Mhm.
polite, you do your work, you get a paycheck. And this, for me, this was how I spent all of my free time when I worked in corporate, truly. I did readings Friday evening and Saturdays, and I taught workshops on Sundays because I got bored of going to brunch every week and just drinking. Like that's what Chicago is. And I wasn't particularly interested in having children and things like that. So at a certain point, it's like you gotta find a thing, and I happen to have a passion that, and in this space, I'll say the passion is very deep. That makes you very vulnerable. It makes you vulnerable to criticism in a way that I never was in any other job
Right.
I've ever had. You do sacrifice, and not always just money and time, like, you don't go on vacations to do certain things. You don't give yourself certain things because 'cause you're giving them to other people, right? It's almost like cleaving a limb off and handing it to people when you write about your psychic experiences or what it's like to communicate with, like, an ancient god. These are profound and really intimate pieces of you as a human being. So yeah, you don't I don't like when people quit their day job right away when they get this idea for a very specific reason. Number one, I wrote that because I heard that there's life coaches telling people to do that, that the universe
Mhm.
only bets on you if you're betting on you. And it's
Mm.
like, don't take that person to Vegas or Macau. What a nightmare. They should be a subprime mortgage broker. That's what that sounds like to me. And when you do it part-time and you're still getting paycheck, you can build a client list so you don't need the same 2 people to come back every week. That gets weird and unethical and enmeshed and kind of boundaries get blurred. It gets weird. And you can beta test modalities. You can pay to get certified in different things, like get a Reiki attunement, see if you like doing Reiki, see if you want to be a yoga instructor. And you're not totally compressed yet by the demands of material reality. It's not your sole motive in the choices you're making and the modalities you're exploring. And so to me, it's like a way to underwrite your woo based business. And you should stay in that as long as it's feasible. And that's what I did. And I left at a very tumultuous time, my job in corporate, March of 2020. But to me, I was like, I've been doing this 10 years,
Mhm.
and now's the time. The world's weird. It's go time,
Yeah.
was my feeling. And I very intentionally, I'll never forget, I got a commercial space, a meditation center right off the green line. And I said, I'm going to give myself for the next year the gift of time. Like, I'm not gonna push on the business front that hard. I have enough clients. I'm in Chicago. I'm gonna be busy. I'm gonna teach workshops and do one-on-one readings, but I really wanna, like, luxuriate in doing this and not multitasking constantly. And I remember the first little train ride, like subway ride I took to my space, and I wasn't multitasking. I wasn't on work calls. I wasn't checking emails. I was just present. And so the other thing I'd recommend is get really clear on what you want out of things at each maybe 6 to 12-month interval. Like, what do I want my woo-based business, my practice, this work, what do I wanna give other people, and what do I wanna give myself right now? Like, what do I need? Yeah.
Mm.
Is there, like, with the people that you're talking to and your clients, is there like a hot modality these these days? Like, there might be someone that can channel and can do astrology and
Yeah.
does meditation. Which one is, like, the hot one?
Well, I'd say things that are, quote, "hot" are gonna be commoditized and saturated.
Mm.
So, hot in the sense that everyone's talking about it
Yeah.
right now, but how much money are people making? How crowded is it? How well can you differentiate? What's the competitive marketplace there look
Mhm.
like? Like, two things that strike me when you ask me that question are human design and like the Enneagram stuff, right? Now, I don't know anyone doing that full time making money. They all have to get a part time job. They tried it, it doesn't work. There's so many people certified in it. And the other piece of that is, to your point earlier, Karen, this is not mainstream. It might feel that way to people interested in it,
Mhm.
but it's not. And you can't consult only other human design people. They can self serve or they have their own friend or
Mhm.
their own astrologer or their own friend who reads tarot cards. So you have to start breaking into what I jokingly call like the muggle client base. And I'll tell you, those people, they know what a tarot card reading is. They're
Mhm.
really into it. Then they get really intrigued by energy work. So in terms of hot, like there's trends, and I think human design is probably leading at that. The other thing I would say is all this light language stuff.
Mhm.
Everyone I know who was in marketing who had to get out of that because of the economy now does light language, and they can cure you of diseases, which is an intriguing pivot. Um, and I'll leave it at that. But I think the manifestation wave, like that abundance gospel stuff
Mhm.
is waning because people did that during COVID. They learned that like, there's science to that. I actually believe in that, but also
Mhm.
you have to work. And sometimes lifes,
Yeah.
sometimes things happen. Last year we basically had like a bomb go off in our life. We got really ill because of a mold infestation. And there's no accounting for that
Yeah.
happening. And so, sometimes you hit the wall of reality and you hit it harder than at other times. And so what I've seen, and this is like an early indicator, is people are getting much more pragmatic. People that are booking readings with me and my clients are doing it because, they have a custody situation with an ex.
Mm.
They are looking for a new job with all the AI layoffs, all the
Yeah.
churn in the job market.
Mhm.
Consumer confidence is at the lowest level it's ever been in American history, including the Great Depression. There's no
Wow.
liquidity in the market, so people aren't really playing games with spirit stuff
Mhm.
anymore.
Mhm.
They want help. They want a way shower. They want a tool. They want dates, times of the year, things to look for, things to zero in on. And a lot of people want to build their own side hustle, frankly, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get the book out as quickly as I did. Was it was like a pressing conversation. It
Mhm.
seemed to be everywhere. Whether or not it's super woo or it's just maybe it's like interior design with a little, maybe they're an energetically sensitive and they're really good at tuning a home, or maybe they want to make jewelry or music or art. It's kind of the same model. And they want someone to give them the real deal about that. They
Mhm.
really want to do it now. Yeah. I'd say too, retreats seem to be waning. Have you guys noticed that? In person retreats? That doesn't seem to be at the fever pitch it was for the since 2020 to 2025.
So, so you talk about people wanting way showers and things like that. That opens
Yeah,
up a little bit of a Pandora's box, right? When it comes to
yeah,
liability, because if people are looking for someone to show them the way, and someone tries to show them the way, and then suddenly it was not the way, now they're going to come after you saying, "You told me to do this,
yeah.
and it's your fault." How does someone deal with that in this
Well,
business?
that's why you never tell any client how to live their life.
Mm.
And so I'm literally in the business of prophecy, actually. Like when you boil it all down,
Yeah.
that's really the core of what I do. So it's funny for me to be such a free will advocate, but it kind of makes sense in the sense of like, this is what I'm seeing. These are the probabilities, the possibilities. These are the themes unfolding. And then you empower that client to take that data and make better, more informed decisions, but they're still making the decision. Like I had a client a long, long time ago, and I gave her a card reading. I said, "You're going to meet your husband, you're going to get married, you're going to move out of the country," and all those things happened. And then she wrote to me and she said, "Well, how could you do this to me? He cheated on me." And I was like, "I didn't pick him and I didn't marry him." Like, there is a point at which it is your life
Right.
that you're living and you're making your own decisions. I read the tea leaves
You
quite
didn't
literally.
say she'd be happy, right?
Well, and that wasn't a question. And, you hope, and I'm sure for a time she was, but,
Yeah.
humans are human and we're
Right.
messy and things happen.
What you
Yeah.
didn't say that she was gonna marry some jerk, and,
Mhm.
you gotta keep that to yourself because she's not gonna believe that when you first tell her. If you had told her, she'd be like, "Oh, you're so bad, terrible." That was
Well, there's no accounting for taste. I wouldn't marry him.
So
But
disclaimer, it could be great,
yeah.
could suck.
Right, right.
And also always explaining to clients that these are the things that we're seeing. This is what Spirit's allowing us to get a glimpse of.
Right.
There's other stuff too. This is just our little line of sight today. And what's funny is I literally sell what I do that way in the marketplace. It's a much harder sell to be like, I don't know, could be, could be. We'll see. And they're like, well, but I want a sure thing. I go, that's not real.
Yeah.
And I've noticed since right around the beginning of the Firehorse year that the reality check version of this work got really popular again. And I'm happy to see it. And people are like, here's what's going on in my life. I'm just looking for some insight. Can you help me? And they take notes, and it's collaborative, and it feels really empowering and productive.
Right.
When it's in its best form, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the business is up, ready to go. They're doing podcasts and stuff. And now they're going to be super, super popular because they are busting their butt on social media, right? They're going to get so well known because they're using social media as their marketing campaign, right? What could possibly go wrong, Rachel?
Womp
Yeah,
womp.
I think people don't realize social media is really structured a bit like a Ponzi scheme, where they need existing users or members to constantly recruit. They need to grow, right? And in that, you're not paying them for a good or service of equal value. And you're not paying them to use social media because they're selling your data and they're selling you advertising. Usually you become an unwitting consumer when you're on there and you're trying to sell and you get sold to a lot of the time. I think social media, in particular Instagram, feels very saturated to me. It feels like the heyday might be waning. They might change their algorithm again, so I could change my opinion. But, you post something to Instagram and it basically is there for a split second, the lifespan of a fruit fly, and then it's gone. Whereas if you write on Substack or you write a book or you podcast, it's evergreen.
Right.
There are people still finding your podcast, listening to my earlier episode with you guys and reaching out to me. It's there forever. Typically, if someone gets into a podcast, they'll binge every episode. That's what I do.
Right.
When I find a podcast I really like, is I go all the way back through, out on my long walks, and I listen to it. And the other thing I would say is really work with your clients. Your clients are going to be your best sales team. And so if they post about you on social media, it's way better than you posting about you on social media if you can get away with it. Yeah.
And regardless, social media, right? The whole aim of the social media platforms is to keep you on their platform. So if you're promoting something on Instagram, they're going to want you to stay on Instagram. The majority of people aren't going to see an advertisement for a podcast and go, oh, I better get off Instagram and go listen to the show now, right? They're not going to do that. So social media is not really the best marketing for that kind of thing. Maybe,
and people do it badly. Have you noticed, like, social media, it's become this my client, James Jude, shout out to James, I joked to them about my book and I go, watch, I'm going to go on social media and go, you guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We all know this like trope thing now that we see of like, I'm thrilled to tell you, and boy, do I have a big surprise for you. And it's totally regressive and infantilizing and manipulative. It's neurolinguistic programming. It's heightening emotionality with language and tone and these gesticulating movements and things like that. And it's really, it's condescending to your audience.
Yeah.
And so what I would say is if you do spend time on social media, treat it like, this is what I do. It's price of admission. I go on there, I let people know, I remind them I'm alive, I wrote a book. Here it is, new podcast episode out. But I give myself a budget for that every day so I can focus on revenue producing, client facing work.
Right.
I actually don't think of it as work. And this is an old corporate trick of meetings and emails aren't work. Work is work. Like, are you producing client deliverables? Are you producing billable hours? Are we making money on your work? Are you just performing the pageant of being at work?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so social media, I guess, would be good for awareness, right?
Yeah. And people will go to your Instagram. They will go to your TikTok or your Twitter or whatever it is to look and to follow you. When they meet you or they see your stuff or whatever it is, they go and they might message you there. But you're not converting to sale there as much because a lot of what we do is basically professional services. It's a form of consulting.
Sure.
It's not consumer products. It's not lipstick. It's not perfume. Those convert to sale on social media at a high rate.
Right.
Our world just doesn't as much. So managing your expectations.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've talked about marketing, but what if someone is, they're very good at what they do and they've got the business plan and they're ready to start, but they don't know how much to charge for their services,
Yeah.
how to value themselves.
Oh boy, that's a big sticky wicket. It really is. Anyone in this space is uncomfortable talking about money. That's
Mhm.
just the truth of it. And so I just ripped the Band-Aid off, you know? And I have a little formula in the book in pricing strategy. There's different pricing strategies for different phases of your business.
Mhm.
So when you're in grow mode, you're new, you're trying to, what we were just talking about, get noticed, get discovered, grow, build your client list, which is really your most valuable asset. Put a price lower than you really think you should charge. Not abysmally low, but low enough that no one has to have a second thought about booking with you. If someone in the office mentions it, they go, "Oh man, it's 50, $60. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go." Because also, it's like a paid internship. You're working out the kinks. You're figuring out what days of the week you like to work.
Mhm.
Zoom, in person. If in person, what room? Where do you like to be? How do you like to do it? And so it's giving you an opportunity to play and get paid professionally, so
Mhm.
there's an even exchange of energy there. And then when you get to a certain point where you're busy enough, you have enough repeat clients, enough referrals, you bump your number up. And like I was just working with a client, business of whom mentoring client, and I thought he's significantly undercharged for his experience and knowledge level. Like he knows everything there is to know about tarot, truly. Like the tower card, the genesis for that, a tower in Italy that fell, like all this stuff. Brilliant human being. And I actually booked with him.
Mm.
And he was like, "Why'd you book with me? We're working together." I go, "Dude, this is my religion, is I'm paying you money. I'm gonna sign up on your website. I'm not gonna be a pain in the ass. I have to practice what I preach." And he was extraordinary at it. And so my first suggestion was him to raise his price, to really get it up there. And you look at market comps, you look at what other people that are kind of eminent in this space that have been at it a long time, what they charge. I think when we get to thousands of dollars for a tarot reading, it's absurd,
Yeah.
actually. I would never pay that. It doesn't matter how much money I have.
But
By the
it's
way, I've really done that thought
but
exercise.
it's a gold-plated tarot deck, Rachel. You don't understand.
Ugh,
There's a cost
boy.
included in this. I have to pay off
I've
this
had
payment.
really good tarot readings for $20 at a bar in Wisconsin, in like a dark old man bar,
Yep.
So, um, I really think that at a certain point it becomes absurd. And I've also found that the people who really charge a lot, what I've heard about their service delivery is it's not very good.
Mm.
So there's sort of a sweet spot that people in the marketplace, consumers of the woo, understand is like pretty good. And depending on your modality, astrologers spend more time in prep than tarot card readers do. They have to do your whole chart.
Right.
They have to figure out what they're going to talk to you about. So that service should maybe be more money.
Mhm.
If it's a natal chart reading or you're looking at your transits for the year. And I don't do astrology. God bless those people. I just had a great astrology reading from someone who was violently accurate. It was really a fun
Ooh.
experience for me to hear it from the other side of the wall, if you will. A tarot reading, I have to do a little prep. I manage what I eat before and afterwards, and I group like tasks. So I charge enough like for my time based on my corporate rate, like my hourly rate and what I think's fair. And people pay before they show up. I would really recommend anyone listening to this, do not get into the like getting paid in real time or afterwards thing. It gets weird. The session energetically stays open.
Okay.
People are going to not pay you. Sometimes it's going to make you feel weird. So when they book, on Calendly, Acuity, whatever scheduling thing you use, you can put a little plugin in there that goes to PayPal or Stripe or whatever you want to use,
Yep.
Zelle. And people pay when they book because they really should pay to secure that time with you because that's your core business. So if they
Yeah.
don't show up and they don't pay you, you're kind of up shit's creek for
Right.
the minute.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Well, this has been all a beautiful, wonderful chat about business and woo and stuff. But one thing that I want to make sure we touch on, there is a um,
Is my mood disturbance that came through in the words on the pages?
well, no,
Yes.
there's a case study that starts darkly funny and then it
Yeah.
escalates to something legitimately shocking, right? Talk
Yeah.
to us about this fake exorcism.
Yeah. So there have been a bunch of these. So that was a composite
Mm.
case study. And I know what you're thinking. How many? Dozens. And this is more a thing in Chicago, I've found, certain metropolitan areas than it is like here in Austin, Texas, where people go to see a fortune teller, the neon sign, the whole thing, and they're told they have a curse or they have a blockage in their chakra. It's why they're not, successful in fertility treatments, why they're poor. They put a lot of fear and anxiety in them, and then they create a sense of urgency. Now, in that particular case, I shared a client who happened to be a good friend of mine, and still is, by the way, with another practitioner. And I don't really know what she does, and I've never looked into it. That's how I save what's left of my sanity, is I don't try and understand everything all the time. And for a couple weeks, she had some stuff happening, family illness, issues at work, things like that, and was really worried she had a curse or there was a demon involved. I was like, dude, I see you like every other day. If you had a demon,
I
like
know.
well, by the way, that happens to be one of my more unfortunate skills. It's usually on site. Like, that's how that goes. And I said, I really don't think that's the case. And sometimes life sucks and then it stops sucking. Like, this is the cycle of life. All the great writers, Ernest Hemingway, everybody, this is what the human condition is about.
Dr. Seuss.
This other practitioner with whom I shared this friend and client told her she had a demon. A demon was attached to her. She was possessed. And so she was the vector for all this unfortunate malaise, like really hitting her family and her loved ones. And so she calls me, the client does, and says, well, so-and-so told me I'm possessed and I have a demon. And I was livid. By the way, it's the middle of my workday in corporate. And I was like, God damn it. It's going to take 15, 20 minutes of my day. And I have to undo this fear this other person keeps kind of perpetuating. And I was so frustrated, but we managed to land the plane. I was basically like, if in a week you still think, I gave her a bunch of things she could do. I was like, go to the little Greek candle store in Greek Town next to the West Loop in Chicago. Go get some holy water, go get some stuff. Give them a little amulet, thinking a little satisfy to the OCD part of your brain.
Right? Like
calm the nerves.
Dumbo's feather.
Totally. Right. Yeah. Like thieves oil.
Right.
And that stuff works.
Yeah.
It actually does. I said, do that. If it's still like this or if it escalates in a week, I'll come over to your apartment. We'll hang out. I'll do energy work on you. I'll see if I could do a clearing or, but really trying to again, empower her, take the fear out of it, and also get my goddamn workday back. I was actually on deadline. I'll never forget. I was like, I can't do this all day. I was like a crying baby in the other room. I was like, I can't. I missed a call. And then the other practitioner who sort of caused this whole thing emailed me right after that chat and said, hey, I have a client who needs an exorcism. I need you to tell me how to do one. And I instantly knew she's talking about my friend. So not only did she convince her of this horrible thing and put her, by the way, in a very, very bad psychological place, very uncool, but now she wants me for free to tell her how to do an exorcism for this client. And I wrote to her, I said, call the Archdiocese, get the Vatican involved, because that is the proper process for a real Catholic exorcism. And I know Catholic exorcists. I've interviewed them on my podcast. And I was like, you're in no way equipped to handle a demon.
Right.
And laid it out for her. I go, they speak in Sumerian. You're going to hear Coptic Greek in there. They're going to move. They're going to levitate. And she must have, after she sent that email, connected with the client we shared and then wrote to me and was like, oh, jinxies, takesies, backsies. The situation sorted itself out. She must have realized that I knew.
Yeah.
And I knew it was her and I knew the whole game. Yeah. It's just there's something mean about it's not just unethical and wrong and whatever. It's it's mean to cause that kind of internal harm to a human being that trusts you as a spiritual expert. It needs to stop. So if nothing else, I hope the book gives people, especially people who maybe aren't business owners in the space, but who consume the woo. I'm both. I own a business and I sign up for sessions. I love it. I consider it a form of self-care to be a client in this space, letting them know what bad things look like and what to look out for at a human scaled level. So they go, time out. This is weird. And they know what questions to ask or how to maybe navigate it where they don't feel like they're being the bad guy in that situation. Yeah.
Right. Well, we got to talk about that thing you do that before you go to bed that drives me crazy because I have been trying so hard to do the thing you're asking not to do.
Of course.
So you literally have to stop yourself from leaving your body on a daily basis.
Yeah. Or having what we in shamanism call the big dreams, where it's you're seeing multiple eclipses in the sky. There's gods talking to you. You're like, oh my God, there's going to be a flood. that shit. I did it again, sorry.
That's okay.
You can't do that every night and
Most
be
people can't do
rested.
that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of us who, it's like just touching the woo, like putting in the reps, it really builds whatever that muscle is to the point where like real life, like me doing my taxes, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be weird and hard for me." Right.
Mm.
So cause my brain's just more geared to go and expand and do insane stuff.
Mhm.
If you do this for a living and you tend to not be as in your body, especially after doing psychic work for other people all day, I learned this in shaman school is you say out loud to yourself before you go to bed, not every night, but maybe once or twice a week, like, I'm not going to leave my body tonight. I'm not going to travel anywhere. I need restful sleep. My body needs to recover and I need this for my health. And I felt insane. I felt like a crazy person the first time I said this out loud, but it was the first really good night of sleep I had in a long time
Uh,
when I did it, and it still works, and what I do now to feel less insane is I'll say it to my husband, I go, "Tonight, my intention is I'm just gonna stay in my body and I'm just gonna sleep, and I'm not gonna have one of my crazy dreams," and he's like, "Okay, cool story." Thanks for
okay.
sharing. But it gets easier that way,
Yeah.
and a lot of us, if you're really woo-woo, you'll find that you want to hold on to something. Like, I interviewed this amazing guy, you guys would love him, he's the head of Dream Studies
Mm.
Institute, his name's Ryan Hurd, and he makes dream amulets, like little totems in people's hands for people who have maybe night terrors or sleep paralysis, so that their astral travel, if you will, is unpleasant, and it helps anchor them. It's like a tactile tool to help them go, "It's okay, I'm gonna get back in my body." Like, almost like a little rope that pulls you back in from that state.
It's so funny as you're talking to yourself saying, "I'm not gonna leave my body. I'm doing the opposite. I am not my body. I'm going to leave the body."
But so
Yeah.
what if you're doing it every night and you don't remember, and that's why you're tired all the
Well,
time?
that's just a really mean thing the universe would do then.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
true.
so I don't think the
The
universe is
universe
that
does
mean.
mean things all the
Well,
time,
no.
man. Um, Here's what I would say too, Will, if you really wanted to do that, there are astral travel exercises. I can email you one that I did. I used to do group workshops in this space where you tie a red ribbon around your wrist and through your hands and you do um, like an old school European witchcraft, not black magic, just witchcraft
Sure.
master spell. You light candles and you set the intention of astral traveling, or what we in shamanism would call journeying to the middle world, like the demimonde, the sort of analog world behind material reality. It's really useful because you can find lost objects, you can spy on people. If you're dating somebody and you think they're cheating on you, you can kind
Oh,
of get a little look-see on the
That's
astral.
what I'm
You
talking
can
that's a
about,
service you can make money from.
you can tune energy in your home. Like, you could see, is there something weird around the house that I don't really like? And you can kind of sweep it out or clear it out
Cool.
in that middle world
Mm.
journey. So it gets practical and really useful. I'll send you guys some stuff. I make a poppy flower essence called Astral Travel. I'll send it to you. I'll send you Lucid Dream. I've got a couple of other weird ones that seem
Ah,
to help people.
well, that's awesome, Rachel.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, of course, it's my pleasure. That stuff is, if I could do that all the time, I would. I would love it. That's, I think too, when Karen, when you ask like, what do people like? What are some of the mistakes they make in their assumptions or their thinking
Mhm.
when they get into this? I think all of us, even continually, even though we know better, we're like, I'm going to play in the woo. I'm going to have fun. And that's there and that's true, but it's not the whole story if you want to keep doing it and paying your bills
Right.
while you do it. And it's why I want people empowered with some of the information in the book
Mm.
so that they, like, that structure can actually give them more freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
Because this work is very meaningful and fun.
Yeah.
And so we've been talking a lot about the book and all that kind of stuff, but we should call out the fact you just mentioned tinctures and things like that. You do a lot more than just write books, right? You've got
Yeah.
Totem is
I'm very tired. When people read, like, I did a podcast the other day and they read just the bullet points on my bio. I was like, oh my God, I sound old and tired. It's unbelievable.
right.
Yeah.
Well, if someone wanted to look at all the stuff that you do, that you offer, tinctures and teas and all kinds of stuff that you do, I know that your deck is sold out, but you might restock at some
Well, we
point.
have the flower essence deck,
Oh,
which is an oracle
there
deck
you
that has
go.
all those fun plant medicines.
There you go. Yeah.
That one's still available. And yeah, I do one-on-one work. So it's not all like coaching for spiritual transformation or mentoring in the business of woo.
Right.
You could just book a tarot card reading with me. You could book an I Ching reading, which is really elegant and fun. It's very ancient Chinese divination system that works on the elements
Cool.
and forces of nature. Um, I do a bunch of stuff and I really enjoy doing shamanic energy work. I'm Reiki certified, like all the way up and down. But for me, that's always really restorative for me,
Mm.
which is odd. Maybe because it's just pure energy work, cutting cords,
Well,
moving chi
well,
around for people.
when
Yeah,
you do Reiki, it's coming through you, so you're being healed as you're
totally.
healing. So it totally makes sense.
It's really fun, and so I do all of that, so you don't have to, like, do a whole big commitment thing with me, and I
Yeah.
promise not to upsell you or make it weird. One of the benefits of being uncomfortable about, like, hard sales stuff, because I just think it's gross and weird, I hate when people do it to me, it always smacks of desperation,
Yeah.
is, you know, people stick around. I get to work with people in a variety of service types, and then eventually, like, my one client, after 13 years of working together, she's like, I think I want to do this spiritual transformation thing. And she launched her own business. And thankfully, thank God she did, and she was very intuitive. Her company had mass layoffs right as she was getting ready to launch it.
Wow.
Wow.
And so she had a bug out bag ready to go, packed
Mm.
and ready. And so, it's little things, it's big things. I have an Etsy shop, Totem Readings ATX. That's where all the tinctures and the flower essence deck are. And the other thing I would say is my friend, when I was going through my difficult time, or as we call it, the troubles, um, owns a company in Detroit called Puck Hockey, and they make really premium, like streetwear, hockey jerseys, like merch for Megadeth, Metallica, System of a Down, Rob Zombie.
Wow.
And we did a clothing collaboration with the art from the sold out tarot deck, and we are launching a summer line,
Mm.
hand tie-dyed, like one of a kind, one of 20 hand-dyed shirts and things like that with the more colorful cards. And I sent you guys, if you put it in the show notes, the promo code and the link for your
Awesome.
I
listeners.
will do that.
So I get to see the clothes tomorrow, literally. It's that new. And that'll be up for sale soon. It's like, fun goth merch.
Very
For
cool.
fun
Cool.
goth
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
So
That's been really creatively fun because, I'm not a clothing person. And so to just team up and
right.
have fun with a friend,
Yeah.
it's been a delight.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you go look on your website, the artwork is really strikingly beautiful. I mean, it's a really
Thank you.
cool designs for sure. So
Yeah. Her team, she pays real adult Americans in a real clothing facility that exists outside of Detroit. One of them is her son, who's in his 30s. And, they're like a little team and they've been together for 17 years. It's just the best small business. And one of the things we're coming out with is Freya, the wife of Odin. She's my Queen of Coins card in my deck. We're going to make a hockey jersey for Freya.
Nice.
So
Nice.
you want to order that drip.
Yeah.
It's good abundance energy. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, go to Rachel's website. We're going to definitely add a link in our show notes for you to get all her stuff, but definitely get her book because when you have guests on your show, sometimes they write a book and you read the book, you're like, oh yeah, it's a nice book.
Very
Yeah.
good.
It's sweet. Yeah.
It's actually really well written. I literally laughed
Thank
out
you.
loud several times. So it's really not just is it entertaining, but it's really practical. So I my hat's off to you, Rachel, for
I
a
appreciate
great
it. I really
book.
want to see like good woo-based businesses, like really earnest people. Like Karen, the people you were talking about that are good at it, they love it. I want those businesses to take market share.
Yeah.
I have my own selfish, weird little agenda. I want them to take it from like grifters and
Yeah.
casuals. And so I've been joking, I've been using communist language. I'm like, we're seizing the means of spiritual production. May 1,000 flowers bloom. But I want people to take that chance. I think it's a good year for it. I think UAP disclosure is around the corner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're about to hit woo in the mainstream in a very new way. And this is a moment
Yeah.
to get ahead of that curve and get your stuff ready to go.
Definitely.
I'm just very
Absolutely.
excited for people.
Definitely. Yeah.
Awesome.
We are too. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the show,
Thank you.
talking to us about the business of woo. And
Yeah.
we'll definitely add links in our show notes for people to reach out and be in touch. But,
Cool. Thank you.
we're always here. So thanks so much for being a friend of the show. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.